Alright guys, how's it going? So today we're going to do a great song by Beck. I'm going to show you how to play Where It's At. I heard this on the radio the other day and I thought, you know, I'm going to sit down and figure out all those cool little piano parts and everything else. So there's really three main pieces to the song. You have the keyboard part that you hear in the intro and throughout the verses, and then in the chorus part we're going to switch between doing the bass line and the vocal melody, and then we're going to do the bridge part. We're going to switch between doing the horn and the keyboard part. So this whole thing is going to be a lot of hybrid picking. There's a lot of good techniques in here that you can use guitar wise, a lot of stuff that involves hybrid picking, your rhythm, right hand, and the whole thing is kind of based on timing, really trying to time it and play like a piano player. I do play the keyboard part a little bit more kind of guitar centric, because we're able to slide and do things that you can't do on a piano, but I'll show you a couple different ways you can play that. But let's just go ahead and get into the intro and the verse. Alright, so the main piano riff you hear throughout the song, we're going to be using double stops to try to mimic all that. And we're going to play it a little bit differently. He plays it real staccato because he's on a piano, but on a guitar we can slide into notes, we can hammer onto things. So I'm just kind of using my own style to kind of make it sing a little bit better when you're playing by yourself, just so it doesn't sound so stiff. But the key to this riff and really getting it to sound like the record or like a piano, like he's playing like a Wurlitzer or whatever that is just letting the open A ring out throughout as much as you can, and then the timing, right? The timing that he gets back into the one on, the timing in between the double stops is really the key to getting this, right? So we'll start out. Alright, so we hit this open A, we're going to let this ring the whole time, then everything's going to be hybrid pick. Pick on the G string, middle finger, pop in the B string. You could play it without that if you wanted to, however you want to play it, right? So we'll start out, we're basically going to outline like an A minor chord, because we're going to have G and B on 5, and it'll be your minor third and your 5th. So I have G and B on 5. I like to use my middle finger, or my ring finger and my pinky, but however you want to play it. Then we're going to go down, we're going to go D and G on 2, and just play like your A5 power chord. Again, pick on D, middle finger hitting the G string. Then let that A continually ring, go back up to G and B on 5. Then walk up to 7 on G and B, still letting that A note ring out. Then I'll smack down on it. This is just kind of my own little feel thing. I'll smack down on it and just kind of give it a beat, and then stop the A note from ringing. Then we're going to bar G and B on 8 and hammer on to 9 on the G string. Let those bleed together. Now let that ring out, right? Then we're going to take our pinky, we're going to put it on 10th fret on the A string. Let all that ring together. Then you can then we'll go 7 to 9 on the A string. Then I'll smack down, give it another little muted hit, just kind of give it some rhythm. And then I'll hit the open A, right? So we have. Now if you hear on the record, it kind of hits that A note twice. It almost sounds like it's a delay. Like I don't know if he's actually hitting the A twice or it's just delay, but sometimes I'll kind of ghost it. And then sometimes the second time I'll stop it. So you can kind of play around with that. You can just hit it once if you want to. So again, you can play this. Okay, so that'll be your first part. Okay, and after you hit A twice, let that ring out. Then we're just going to walk backwards from where we just came from, right? So we're going to bar that G and B on 8, hammer onto 9. Let that A continue to ring. Then we'll go G and B on 7. Then we're going to go 4 and 3 on G and B, middle and index finger. And I'll kind of slide down into this. Right, I never really thought about how I play this, but I guess I'll kind of slide down from this bar and let my middle finger take over and slide into that 4th fret on G. And then hit that twice, then you can mute out the A. Then I'm going to slide in from 4 and 3 on G and B to 6 and 5 G and B. After I slide into that, I'm going to bar G and B on 5 and hammer onto 6 on G, let those ring together. Now when he plays this, he plays it very staccato, where it's like a... He plays it like that. For me, it felt kind of stiff. I just thought it sounded better if I added in like some slides and hammer-ons and stuff. So that'll be your whole part, right? Alright, so after you bar 5 on G and B and hammer onto 6 on G, then we're going to have 7 on A to 4 on D. And then we'll hit the open A twice, right? That timing is very important. That's probably, like, other than the bridge, that's probably the trickiest part of the song, is just that turnaround, getting back to the beginning of it, right? So alright, so that's everything. Then you just keep repeating that over and over and over again. You play along to the song, sounds perfect. And then from there, we'll get into the chorus. So let's go ahead and get into the chorus part. Okay, so now we get into this chorus part. And the chorus is really cool because it changes keys. So when we're playing that keyboard riff, we're in the key of A. And then when the chorus drops, it goes into the key of E, right? So that's what kind of gives it its sound. You know, it's a real cool modulation, kind of going up a fifth like that. Something only Beck could kind of pull off. But so during the chorus, you basically have like 3 things going on. You have his vocals. They put the kind of overdriven effect on the vocals, so I'm going to kick the overdrive on. And then you have the bass line that drops underneath. And then you kind of have this real sparse piano part. It's really not integral to what we're doing here, trying to tie all this together. So we're just going to walk between the vocal melody and the bass line, but use kind of the rhythm of the keyboard part to tie all those together, if that makes sense. So we'll start out. So the first part, we're going to slide in to 7th fret on the A string while droning the open E. And this is going to be your where it's at. I just kind of do a down, down, up. And then I kind of do some muted hits in between just to tie everything together. And then we're going to walk down, we're going to play an E5. We're just gonna have open E, bar A and D on 2. Just do a bump, a bomb. Just do a down hit, a muted down hit, and then an upstroke. And that'll be kind of your bass line played like along with kind of the piano rhythm and what that's doing, right? So then we get into this cool lick of 2 turntables and a microphone. So when he says I got 2 turntables and a microphone, we're going to play this kind of country E minor pentatonic type of lick, right? So a lot of this is muting and timing, right? So we're going to hit the open D twice, real staccato, real quick. And then we're going to fret D on the 2nd fret to your middle finger. Then we're going to hybrid pick G and B open. Then we're going to pull off 2 G and B to open. And after you pull off, we're going to go back, hit G and B on 2. And then G and B open. So that'll be your rhythm there. Then we're going to walk up, we're going to have G and B on 4 and 3. I like to use my middle and index finger, but however you feel comfortable, right? And after you get 4 and 3 on G and B, go down the 2nd fret, bar G and B. Then we're going to hit G and B open, hammer on to G on the 1st fret, and let the open B string ring out. Alright, so all together. And then as you turn it around and get back into it, I'll slide in with my middle finger because your index finger is kind of being occupied, right? And then just repeat that rhythm. I think it does it like 4 times. Just keeps going, right? So it's really just all that muting and right hand stuff that kind of keeps the flow going and mutes out all those notes and makes some real staccato when you're playing that lick. Alright, so that's the whole chorus part. Then we get into this really cool bridge part. So let's go ahead and get into the bridge. Okay, so after the 2nd chorus, we get into this cool bridge part, and there's basically 2 things going on. You have a trumpet, some kind of horn part that's going on, and then you have this keyboard riff that's played in between it. So we're going to mimic the horn part by going between these 3 different triads, and then we're going to mimic the keyboard part by doing these double stops at your E major scale. So right as you get out of that 2nd chorus, you already have your index finger down on G, right? So go ahead and form a D major shape, G, B, and E, and slide it all the way up to 7/8/7. And that's how we'll get into it, right? And after you slide into that shape, we're going to pick G by itself, then we're going to pop the B and E string with our middle and ring finger, just hybrid pick it back and forth. Okay, and after we do that G, we're going to go from E flat to E major, just trying to mimic what the kind of keyboard and horn part is doing there. So we're going to have pick, hit the low E string, let it drone out, then we'll have 3/4/3 G, B, and E, have your middle, ring, and pinky on G, B, and E string, then walk it up a half step to E major, let that open E, hit that again, and then we're going to continue to let that open E drone out when we go to play this lick, right? So we have, so when we play this lick, let that open E keep ringing. And then we're going to slide in to 7 on the A string with our middle finger. Then we're going to have 7 and 6 A and D together. Then pick 7 on A and D. Then slide up to 9 A and D and go back and pick A and D on 7. Then after after you hit A and D on 7, go back to 7 and 6 A and D. And after you hit 7 and 6 A and D, keep your index finger down on the 6 on the D string. Let it keep ringing. And then you'll hit A and D, or E and A on 7, and that forms your E major triad, right? Alright, but you want to hybrid pick all of it. Alright, so coming out of the chorus we have okay, and after you hit that, mute it out once you get that triad there. And then you gotta be quick. We're gonna get right back in to that G major triad on 7/8/7. Same rhythm. But this time, on the last time, we're gonna put our pinky down on the 8th fret on the high E string. Okay, and after you put your pinky down, go back to 7/8/7. Then walk back to your E flat to E major with your open E. Okay, then we end it. So we're playing the same lick again. We'll slide into 7, but we're just not going to finish it, right? So after you walk up from E flat to E, let that open E ring out. Slide into 7 on A, go 7, 6, A and D, then A and D on 7, and slide up to A and D on 9, pick A and D on 7, pick A and D 7, 6, then hit your open A. Then we change key back into A, and we're back into the piano part again, right? So right, it's a really cool change. So really slow, getting out of the chorus into the bridge, the whole thing. Okay, so that's the whole thing, right? It's a really fun song to play. It's a little trickier than it looks. There's not a lot to it, but the kind of techniques you have to use to get it to sound right, you know, it's really great practice. It's really great for your hybrid picking, really great for your muting. So yeah, man, it's really fun. I've always loved Beck. He's so creative, he's so unique. There really hasn't been anybody else like him. I think Beck and Moby are probably two of the most underrated kind of musicians slash producers that are out there. But anyway, man, just have fun with it. Work on that hybrid picking, work on the timing, which is really the trickiest part. You can have fun with the tone. They make pedals now where you can kind of get like a Wurlitzer kind of Mellotron type of sound if you want to mess with that. But that's everything, right? So just have fun, practice slow. I'll see you next time.